Well, good morning, church. Thank you for joining us for our daily Devo. Today, we're in the last chapters of Matthew 28, 18 through 20, what is called the Great Commission, because this is what Christ says to his disciples before he ascends to heaven. Not only that, it's really the marching orders that the church is to follow. They followed it in Pentecost, and we, if we're an obedient church, continue to follow it today. If you look at this verse, I remember when I was in seminary, we had the diagram sentences. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. And Greek was even harder because they had these huge sentences. This whole section of scripture only has one verb, one driving force of action, and that is make disciples. And so Christ wanted them to understand, guys, here's the command, make disciples. But now I'm going to tell you how to do it. There's three participles in the Greek. It is going, baptizing, and teaching. So the goal is the disciple, but he tells them how to do it. First, you are to be going. That is, you aren't to sit with this message and stay, but you're to take this message around the world. We'll see this re-emphasized in Acts, where it talks about that they are to be his witnesses in all the world, in Jerusalem, Judea, and to the uttermost parts of the world. We as a church are not called just to have a great message that people can come and hear. We are to take that message to the world. It starts in our neighborhood, because we're strategically placed in a neighborhood, at a job, with family members, to take the message. So we are to take the message. We are to be going. Next, baptizing. Baptizing is incorporating in the community. We know baptism is that act of obedience, one of the ordinances where we are pictured as dying to our old self as we go under the water and raised to a new life. But you realize baptism always happens in a context of community. In other words, it's becoming part of a community, part of a family. That a church isn't an organization only, it is a family, it is a connection. And so they aren't supposed to just have people receiving Christ and move on. They're to baptize them, to identify them with Christ, but also as a group of believers. And all around the world, when people come to know Christ, we see this ordinance of baptism, which is identifying not just with God, but with that community that is functioning as you're baptized. And then the last, he says, is that we are to teach them to observe all things. Now, I love that, because sometimes we can think the purpose of the church is to get people to pray a prayer, to accept Christ. And that is not the finish line. Really, that's only the starting line of faith. See, once they have heard the message, once they've been responded, they've accepted Christ, they've been baptized, they're brought into this community. Now we as a community are to take all the things God has taught us, and we are to teach them, so that they don't just have a head knowledge, but that they have a heart knowledge, that they are changed. And ultimately, the real picture that someone's become a disciple is that they're doing these things with others. They're going, they're baptizing, they're teaching, they're seeing a multiplication process. That's the power of the gospel. That's how it could start with just a little above 100 people, and within a generation be around the world, because they fulfilled this commission. They did what they were called to do. They made disciples. They went, they incorporated them in the body, and then they taught them so they could go and do the same. Guys, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for being part of our daily Devo, and I hope you'll continue with us tomorrow.